Hello everyone, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. Today I've got a fall on my sword. Frames have been sold, not fixed. It's a bit of bad work I did probably 8 years ago, something like that, and it's a very easy trap to fall into. When I make these angles for the frames and the spreaders, I make sure that they're square and to the best of my ability they are. But what I didn't think about was continual thickness. And the brackets have to be not only square, they have to be, I think it's called coplanar. Now I did these on an old shaper. I had an old Douglas 11-inch shaper, and a couple of the brackets must have kicked up in the vise a bit as I was machining them. So they're thicker at one end than the other. So even though you put the square over the top of the buffer beam, down the side of the angle, the bracket is dead straight, but if the flange is thinner at one end than the other, it'll cant the frame in, and I'll bring you in a little bit closer later on to explain that. Something that caught me, I do have a few bends in that bit of steel, and when I take it out of the frames I put it on the press and press it out, but I think two new angles for the frame, I'll have to de-rivet it and start it up again, and I think I'll have a straight set of frames, problem solved. But that really has been chasing my tail. Here's a new piece of angle that I purchased, and can't believe it, it's dead straight and true all the way along, and equal thickness, so we'll be making a few new brackets out of this. But the other piece is probably about 0.6 or 0.7 millimetre difference from one end to the other, and that causes the grief. This piece of steel is good. These pieces of angle that I purchased years ago, one side was fat and lumpy curve, and the two surfaces were out of square by 3 or 4 degrees, so I had to machine a lot of material off to get them up straight. Okay, I'll bring it up close and you can have a look. Now we'll try for a bit of a close-up shot. Okay, I've got the square up on the buffer beam. The outside of the angle is square to the buffer beam, but if this thickness here is greater than that thickness there, the buffer beam will be canted, even though the square goes over the angle and it looks perfect. Very, very easy to get filled, something that I should have picked up, but I've gone around the frames and I use the square on the outside angles because it's just easier than using on the inside, and they're all good. It looks bloody perfect. But if that flange tapers, it cooks the frame over. At least I now have the problem and I can work my way around it, and I don't have to destroy too much material, just a few bits of angle line. Okay, I'll bring you back once they're all assembled. Hello again, and here we are back at the little Kearns Type S borer. I had a fair bit of run out with the snout bar holder last week, and I'm having trouble zeroing that out, so I got the snout bar holder that the snout bar was in, not the one I used with the chuck, clocked it up, and I'm still getting about 1/8 hour run out. So I thought I'd go back to basics and check the body. Now, it runs reasonably well. The total run out I'm getting is about 1.5 hundredths of a millimetre, which is negligible. So it's the run out of the slide that I've got problems with, and I can see daylight down one side of the slide, nothing on the other side, and that I can't explain. So I'm going to pull the face off the chuck and see where I'm up to. It's something I can live with. If you've got a snout bar holder and a snout bar in it, when you're doing single point boring, the run out of the tool doesn't matter because you're just completing a circle, whether it's off a little bit one side, as long as the bar is straight with the axis of the machine, and that it is. It's radial run out, not axial, that I'm getting. So back to basics, pull the face plates off the facing chuck and see what's wrong with the slide. It's also tightened up again. I've tried the manual control for the facing slide and it won't operate. There's a clutch that slips in the back. So a bit too much to do this weekend. I've got ankles to cut for the logo frames, but I'll come back on this next weekend when I'm a bit fresh up mind, take the face plates off and we'll have a look at the slide. All for now, like and subscribe, please. Well, I'm back for a little bit more. This is a sequel to this morning's work. Surprise, surprise, it's back together. I think I said a few Catholic prayers and that helped a bit, but a couple of the holes were out of fraction, but I put the cylindrical squares back in got the frames aligned, put the square inside, and bugger me if it didn't all come together. So I just cleared a couple of holes that were a bit tight on the screws, and it went together. It's within half a millimetre of being flat and level, and that's good enough for a bloody model train. But I could not figure out what was the problem. So I tried to fit the spreaders back in, and the front spreader cum drawbar plate won't go back in now that the frames are square. And the back one fits all right. The two intermediate spreaders, well, the rear one of those two is okay, fits perfect. The mid-span one with the valve gear bracket, I've got to refit that. And the little one at the front drops in. So I don't know if that one front spreader was causing me the grief or not. But now the frames are bolted together, I just have to give the nuts a final nip, and they're never coming apart. There'll be wire brush next weekend and a coat of paint put on them. And surprisingly now, the axle boxes go up and down a lot smoother, but not perfect. But the axles both turn freely. So obviously it was on the piss with the bloody left-hand frame. So we'll progress further next weekend, clean up and paint, and then I'll start to fit the spreaders in. Bye for now. And here it is, a new to me item, 13 CFM compressor, bought off a clubmate, Nathan. Quite happy with it. I'm updating from one of those little noisy high-speed machines that I don't think are much good. So I'll now have shop air, plumb it in and be able to blow the chips off machines. Quite a good purchase, I'm happy with it.